All right, welcome back. So in this video, we are looking at code.org. This happens to be functions. And this activity that we're looking at is calling a function multiple times. So we're going to end up calling this function several times to create these fish. Okay, so we can do this a lot of different ways. We could add a variable and, like bring in a fish and then call on that fish variable over and over. But they do mention down here where it says try using drawing tools to practice using functions for this challenge rather than using sprites and a draw loop. So if we look at the fish, we can see that it looks like there's probably a circle or an ellipse, and then there's the tail. And so we can draw those together and create an ellipse and then create the actual tail of the fish. So let's go ahead and we're going to kind of practice with this a little bit, and we'll see if we can get this. First thing we're going to drag out is a fill, and we'll make it orange. And then we don't want a border around this, so we're going to do no stroke. And then we're going to need an ellipse. And then we are going to need a regular polygon, and we're going to kind of tinker around with this a little bit. So the first thing, we're just going to leave these right here, and we'll make this like, let's make it 15. Oh, maybe, yeah, let's make it 15 and 15. Then, so if we draw this right now, oh, there we go. Might help if I spelled orange right. Okay, so we have our ellipse, and our polygon is kind of overshadowing it here. So that's not going to be good, and our polygon is 5-sided. So the first thing we need to do is we need to actually move this over to the side. So let's go ahead and say that instead of 200, we're going to say 215 or 220. And then same thing with this. This is 200, so let's make this 200 more, or 20 more. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Oh, well, that doesn't work at all. Let's make that actually, let's go down and say 190 on this. Not working at all. Excellent. Let's try 250. Let's separate these quite a bit. Okay, so there is our ellipse, very small. We probably want to make that bigger. Let's make that 25, and let's make that 25. And let's make this polygon smaller too. So this is 5-sided. We really, if you look at the picture that they're drawing, it's 3-sided is probably what's going to end up happening. And let's make this like 20. Okay, so that's a little bit better. And then let's move this. Instead of 250, let's do 220 again. Yeah, I think that looks good enough for a fish right there. Okay, so that's how we will draw our fish. Now, it's not quite what they have there, but it works. I think that sounds pretty good. So let's go ahead and then drag out our function here, because this is going to become all in one thing. This is going to be our fish. And we'll just call this fish. And then in our program, we can add this up here and say fish. So it's going to call on our function that's fish here. And that'll do it. Okay, so now what we want to do is think about, well, we want to make this so that it can draw many fish, and it's going to do this over and over and over. Okay, so the next thing to do is we need a way to make this random. And the way to do that is we're going to change the X and the Y for these so that the locations, we want to keep these the same. So every time it draws the fish, we want to keep these the same. But we want to change these. So let's go ahead and make a variable. And we're going to keep it within the fish function. So this will be X, that'll be Y. And then let's do a random number. Now let's not do, we could do 0 and 400. The problem with that is we're going to end up fish that are going to be off the edge. So let's keep this to a little more like 25 and 375. And the only reason I'm choosing these is these are kind of the size of my fish here. And so I want to be 25 away from each of those. So we're going to do that for this as well. Okay. So every time we reset this, it's keeping it right there. Oh, let's do X and then Y. Might help if I actually apply it in here. Now, this we got to be careful with. So this we did 20 more than this X. So let's keep that the same with this. So we're going to do X plus 20. Okay, and then for this, the Y, this was 10 less than that. So let's take whatever the Y is and subtract 10 from it. All right, so now let's try that. There we go. So now our fish is going wherever we want. Okay, so now what we need to do, and let's make sure we have everything. It says you could use drawing tools to draw a single fish, then you call it single fish. Okay, so then this is our single fish. Now we're going to make multiple fish. So we're just going to drag out another function here. And let's drag this up here too. And this is going to be called many fish. Now, oops. What we want many fish to do, this really is quite simple, is we just want many fish to draw many of these. So we're going to drag this in here, maybe. And we're going to keep dragging this over. So I don't think we can copy that. No. So we'll just keep dragging several of these in here. Just needs to be fish. Let's get rid of that. All right, let's do this a couple more times here. We'll do one more. Let's do 6. So this is many fish. So that means up here, we have our my function. We want this to be many fish. So this is going to call upon this function. This function will then call upon this. It will randomly produce a number, and then we'll go through this ellipse and the regular polygon. But it's going to do that each time, and each time one of these is called, it's going to go up here to look at fish, randomly produce a new number. So these won't all be in the same spot. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it a try. Now, if we wanted to, we also need to have a background color. So it says, it doesn't talk about the background, but if we wanted to, it would be very easy just to do another function down here. Call it background. And then just make sure that you place that background in here. So we got to call this up here at the top. So then it's going to call the background, do many fish. And I'll do that each time. Oops. Does it not like my background? Maximum call stack size exceeded. What if it doesn't like that? Oops. Goodness. So now that should call on this my background. It didn't like that I had background and then I used the wrong thing up there. Okay, so there you go. And there you go. We have many fish. I don't think it says how many you need. Change yourself even more by giving your single into a random location each time the function is called. Yep, so that's what we did down here. Okay. All right, so that's how you draw the fish. Mine don't quite look like theirs, and yours probably won't look identical either, but that's just tinkering with the ellipse and the polygon and things like that. And you could do these different ways as well. But okay, hopefully that helps you with your coding, and good luck.